I'm walking down this road. It's getting a bit too cold.
Hello everyone, good afternoon to you. Yes, this is KK and Friends once again, and we're coming to you to help you with answers that will empower you to live a Christian life. I'm sure that the videos you have done already have been a blessing to you as you have been receiving some good feedback already. And today we are here again to answer a very important and interesting question. And I have here with me Mr. KK Baidoo. KK, what have you been up to this past few days, weeks?
I think, as I said last week, that we started our new church, so we are still on with it, the Passion Story Church, located in Accra, Ghana. Soon to be all over the world. So I think officially, we've not hit 2 months yet. November 20th. So I think this week, today is, I think, officially can be our 2 months of service. So that's what I've been up to by the grace of God.
Awesome. I was on a retreat a few days ago, and I just came back yesterday. I had a very good time, and I see God doing amazing things already in the near future. Yeah, so let's go straight to the point. So we have a very important question. When it comes to the issue of love, a lot of people have so many questions about love. Last week we discussed the issue of how to break up a relationship, and today, very interesting question. The question is very simple as well. How do you know someone loves you? This question keeps coming over and over again, and we think that's a very good time to be able to give some answers to help young people to do it the right way. So my first question to you on this particular issue is, why do you think people, it sounds very interesting, a question. Why do people even think about it in the first place, even ask a question like that? How do you know somebody loves you?
Well, the whole idea of many young people, unfortunately, has been concentrated around love. And when we talk about love, most of them are just talking about the feeling part of love, and they want to know, usually it's because they are crushing on someone and they want to know if it's mutual, if the other person is also feeling the same way about them, because then that will help them to then make a decision. That challenge, all these feelings that I have inside of me, is the other person also feeling the same way? Because if I have such good feelings about this person, and this person is having the same feelings back for me, then it's amazing. Then we can connect, because then it's amazing to have this. I'm feeling good about these feelings, and if this person is also feeling the same way, then amazing. Let's do it. So it's usually a question of testing, as I have found out, whether the crush or the feeling of love that the person is feeling, or usually the person who asks this question is experiencing. They want to know whether it's also on the other side, so that that question is asked mainly because of the desire for connection, and of course, as we know, wanting to make it into a romantic relationship, mostly for the sake of the romantic relationship, either for just the sake of it or for marriage, so that they can be able to understand whether there's anything inside for them to pursue, basically.
Wow, so it's really about the feelings and what they're thinking about the other person as well, whether you have the same mutual feelings for them.
Exactly.
You mentioned feelings, but when I look at a scripture like 1 Corinthians 13, it talks about love. And then it mentions things like love is patient and kind, and it's not self-seeking. It doesn't look like it's a feeling. So can you tell us a bit more about that? Is it the same thing? Do you have to feel patient, or they are different?
Well, I think that I will quickly chip in something. I don't know whether I said it last week, but it has to do with love. And I used to be part of the people that went about preaching that love is a decision and it's not a feeling. And I went on and on preaching it, and I was very, vociferous about it. And I wanted to shout, because I had come to realize that love is really, really a decision and not a feeling. Until one day I was leading a Bible study, I think about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, when one person, I shouted the same mantra. The person says, Pastor KK, you are saying that love is only a decision and not a feeling. But if love is only a decision and not a feeling, how is it that when my mom loves me, I feel it? And, a very good question. I was like, wow, I don't have an answer, but I'll get you an answer very soon. So I went digging for information. Eventually, I ended up finding out that, I realized that love is a decision as long as you are giving it to somebody. But in the reception of love, love is always a feeling. So on the reception, when somebody has made the decision to love you, you becoming the person who is on the way. For example, if somebody is being patient with you, you will like it. If somebody is being kind to you, you will love it. But if you have to be the one to be patient with somebody, it's very difficult to become patient, because you need to decide that I just want to just be patient with this person. It doesn't matter how the person or whatever the person does to me, I have chosen to be patient with them, and that's it. So that's really the whole idea of the when it comes to the love as a feeling or as a decision. So but mainly amongst young people is the agape part of love. Well, let me just quickly break it down into the 3 forms of love that you normally see, or maybe some of them not directly, but you can see it in the Bible. And it has to do, the one that we can really, really see it in the Bible is the agape and filial, when Jesus himself has a discussion with Peter after he resurrected from the dead, and then I think in John 21 or so, where in that discourse Jesus will ask Peter, do you love me? Do you agape me? And Peter will respond, no, I feel you. And so that discussion is about, when you are looking at the English word, the Bible, you only see love. But in the Greek, it's agape and phileo. So agape is simply unconditional love that you give to a person as a result of the fact that they are human beings created by God. So another way of defining it is, you love somebody because they have been created by God. You love the person, or you see the person just as God will see them. So that's the way to see that type of love. Then we have the filial. The filial is the one. Let me just quickly say something about agape. We agape everybody. You agape people because they are people that have been created by God. So you can agape people who are not in the same religion with you. You can agape. In fact, it's through agape that we intercede for people. It's because in intercession we pray for people, and we don't have to know them before we pray for them. So in agape, that's why we love people like that. We love them unconditionally. Then we come to filial. Filial, as I said, is a brotherly, or the love that exists between friends and family. So it's more like family and friends. Now, this type of love is friendship love, and it's also based on, it's actually discriminatory, if I should say, because you only apply this thing to people who you know, either are friends or are family. So it's that form of love. Then we come to the eros, which is the most popular one, erotic, but the one that is we give to one single person because of romance and for the sake of enjoying them alone. So eros has that characteristic of one person, and that is very, very important to know. So with these 3 forms of love, you see that it's very important that we clarify that many young people love the last one, which is eros, because that whole idea of, the other 2 are what I call the popular stand. You have to give it to everybody. But the one makes Aaron special is that it's for one single person. And that VIP or even VVIP, that because it's for one single person, you love that person uniquely and you give yourself off to that person and that person alone.
That's a good one. I mean, 3 types of love: agape, unconditional, filial, brotherly love, eros, romantic love. Now, I have another question for you. I think that when it comes to knowledge, timing is very important, because I remember when I was in school, there are a lot of things that. And when I was in primary, I saw people in JHS and they are having a T squared and stuff, and I wanted to be there. But I realized that I was not prepared for it. And as I progressed and I got there, I also wanted to progress. So sometimes I later realized that some of the knowledge that I was really seeking after, if I got them earlier, it would have destroyed me. So it wasn't necessary anyway. So I think knowing is important, I think. But then I also think that timing is also very necessary. Because sometimes having some knowledge, before the right time can actually, affect you negatively. So can you, tie it to the question of knowing? When do you think is the appropriate time to want to know, to know if someone loves you?
Well, to know that someone loves you, the timing is good, but for me, the important thing is, what are you going to use it for? What will you use if you know that the person loves you? Really, I don't have a problem with the knowing, but the question is, you know it for what? Knowledge, sometimes they say what? Ignorance is king. But not all the time. Of course, the Bible has said that lack of knowledge, my people perish, Isaiah 4:6. So, you don't have to know everything. In fact, the story is told of the bumblebee that by its nature is not supposed to be able to fly in a tunnel. But it doesn't know this. And because it doesn't know it, it flies anyway. So sometimes what you don't know is good. So the question is, what don't you know? If you know it, what will you use it for? Now imagine that you got to know that this person loves you. I know people who got to know that there's some form of feelings on the other side of the person they were interested in. And so then that started an unfortunate relationship that was premature. So I don't have a problem with the knowing, but the question is, so there are two things. What will you use it for? And for the timing. Why? So they are both related. So if you are going to use it to know it to enter into a relationship that you are not ready to marry yet, then I advise you that don't know it. Don't know it. Don't know it. It's not important. I was reading a book by a pastor called Pastor Samadeni from Nigeria, and he was saying that before marriage, anytime anything concerning sex passes through your mind, ignore it. And so this is what I will also say. You don't have to know everything. Knowing an information like this one is not necessary, and it's going to actually complicate your issues. And usually, before you want to know that someone loves you, is because usually you are crashing.
Exactly.
Now, so if you are crashing, what you need is crash management, and not getting to know whether the person loves you or not. Because then when that happens, it will compound the issue. Because usually when the crash management is on your side alone, it's important. It's a little, although it's not difficult. Although it's difficult, it's a little easier to deal with it than when it is on two sides. Then now you have to not only manage your crash, but have to push the person away. So that is when timing comes in. With this one now, with the timing issue, you now realize that if it is time for you, and we used that term last week about the fact that if it's time for you now to get married, and which in that case you can get married within 2 or 3 years, then it's a good time to start knowing whether someone loves you, and especially when you have feelings for them.
Wow, that's brilliant. But you mentioned craftsmanship. I have another question for you, but just before that, can you touch a bit on it? Especially because I've also written a book on love at first sight. How can you talk about crash management? Just something small.
Yeah, well, I think we'll do a program on crash management, but just not go into details here, but to just scratch it on the top. Crash management, I think, is one of the most important things, and if many young people can understand it, they will avoid the pain of crashes or romantic relationships that break up, because at the end of the day, they realize too late when they have actually entered that it wasn't necessary to have entered in the first place. But crash management simply is taking every advantage that you can get to get the crash or the feelings, the strong feelings of love that you are having to go down. And so I usually have about 5 different methods. One of them is just allow time. If you just don't do anything, just allow the crash to just linger and it will just go away. And another one is see a good counselor. Find time to talk to a good counselor, not a foolish one, not any of those your friends that are already willing to have been advising you to enter into a relationship. Or those one when you go and tell them, tell you to indulge. Later when we are doing a crash, I'll say some other things. And then there's the humanize the person. A crash is based on something that you have overemphasized or exaggerated about a person. To make a crash go away, you have to just make the person a human being. One of the things you suggest is that you start imagining the person doing things that human beings do. Because sometimes when you are crashing on somebody, you can be so strong that you think, that this person, excuse me to say, does not use the loo or does not poop. So when you think about the person that way, it helps you to be able to deal with the whole crash thing. And then we can also come to the cutting of communication. For me, this is even very critical. People have told me about other things, but when we do the crash video, we'll talk about it. But simply cut communication as much as you can. And then finally, forget about the person. People don't know that forgetting is an active verb. You can forget because Philippians 3:13, Paul says, one thing he does is he forgets. So what's the definition of forgetting? The definition of forgetting is to refuse to donate mental resources to a person or the thought of the person when each time the person's ideas come into your brain.
Forget. Humanize, cut communication, talk to the counselor. Wonderful.
I'm walking down this road. It's getting a bit too cold.
Do you want to join the Teens Aloud family all across the world? It's pretty simple. Just get 1 or 2 or 3 friends together, find a cool meeting spot, and voila, you are set. Our very own facilitators will make the journey to help you manage your new Love Fellowship. You can also join an already established Love Fellowship in your neighborhood or any Teens Aloud club or Love Fellowship in your senior high school or university. Contact us on 0273 400 400 for more information. Teens Aloud. Seize the moment.
I'm walking down this road. It's getting a bit too cold.
On to the main question. Now I'm ready for marriage. I think I've seen somebody I like and I want to be sure the person also loves me. How do I know?
Well, to know that somebody loves you is wonderful. You want to check. There are some men or boys who are ready to get married. They want to know that they want to be sure that Charlie. This one will not be a bullet that I fire off track. Many people don't want the fear of failure, so they want to make sure that they step forward, they go, and their love will be reciprocated. If it's a lady, they want to also know that if this guy is he in love. If he's in love, then maybe eventually he will come and propose. Or should I wait for this guy? So I will first of all give you about 4 different ways by which you can use to see that somebody loves you. And this one, I will start by telling you that don't ever base it on only the feelings part. Now the feelings, there's some part of it, but the part that you need to rely on is the decision part. Why the decision part? Because the decision part teaches you about the character of the person. And if it teaches you about the character of the person, then because you are going to marry character, feelings are fired up by chemicals and they will go away. But when they go away, the character is what will stand. So work on the character rather than the feelings. Now, so one of the ways that you can know that somebody loves you is, first of all, check whether the person is selfless when it comes to you, or a person is selfish when it comes to you.
Wow.
It's easy to tell the difference. Sometimes not easy for some people, but you know that the person loves you when the person is does things that near to your benefit rather than to your disservice. One of them is concerning your own life, and your one of them okay, let me just say it's just your sex. You know, if the person is looking for the slightest opportunity to benefit some sexual gratification. You know, I met a boy recently, he catches a lady, all he wants to do is to just get uses excuse me to say, finish to scratch the girl's butt. Get away from such a person. The person is selfish and not selfless. So that's one of the most important things. Now, another way to know that somebody loves you is the person wants to go very far with you. And I talk about futuristic, and here I'm talking about purpose. So Pastor Kika, are you saying that if somebody is not aligned in purpose with you, the person doesn't love me? No, you are asking me a specific question. You're not saying the person loves you generally. You want the person to love you specifically. Now, if somebody, the Bible says in Amos 3:3 that can two walk together unless they agree. So love has a certain form of agreement and a certain futuristic character to it. So if somebody loves you and the person doesn't love, I heard something, it said, love me, love my dog. Now, if you love me, the person doesn't love some other parts about you, and everybody has. For example, one of the things I realized that before I got married, I was talking to a lady. I realized if that lady is not aligned to my calling, which was the love for young people, then that person doesn't really love. Because love for young people is part of me. So you take that part of me out, you have not you're not taking all of me, and that's why it's important that before you see, when people ask me about this love thing, I said, how would you know somebody loves you when you don't know? It's like asking me a question. How will I know that this? You've written an exam and you've given me an exam, the exam to mark. How will I know that this is right or wrong? Unless I have the marking scheme. So if you don't know yourself, you won't know whether somebody loves you or not. Because when somebody loves you, they must love all that is about you. But if you don't know yourself, how would you give yourself to somebody? That's why Miles Monroe always says that the best person to get married is a person who's good at being single. You understand? So it's important that to understand how someone loves you, the person must be willing to go very far with you on all the aspects of you, and that requires you to be able to know who you are. And the third thing that I want to talk about is now moving a little bit into the feelings part of it, the issue of time. How much does life is measured in time, and what people spend their time on, they mean it. And if the person spends their time on you, people one time and people come, this person, but he doesn't get the time to come. It's priority. Even God Himself tells us in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, seek ye first. So priority for those two things is very important. It's just all the rest will follow. Now, when people say, I don't have time, no, that word should be changed. Each time we hear somebody say, I don't have time, the thing they should rather be saying is that I can't make time. They want somebody loves you, they make time for you, they because time is life. And if people spend their life with you, then it's important that they love you. And then finally, so you can see the first two are based on the decision, and then the second are more feelings, and the last one will be if somebody spends their resources, and apart from time, the other things, maybe it can be anything. the person spends their time giving you something, or maybe not necessarily huge gifts, but the person can do something that shows, that they want their resources to come to you. I mean, just yesterday or 2 days ago, I was listening to a message by a pastor. I mean, he was talking about God, and he was talking about tithes and offerings. And one of the things he was saying was that God, but why should God use money to check whether you love him or not? And he gave an example that you say you love a girl, and the girl's birthday comes, no, nothing. Christmas, nothing. Valentine, nothing. How would you be able to confirm that this person loves you? There must be some sort of other resources. I could give more examples, but these 4 are tops for me.
Wow, this is deep. I mean, to summarize it all, I think you mentioned that it's not all about feelings. Look for character, because it's character that you marry. It's a very brilliant answer to this question. And I think that's the last part too, the follow-up to this question, that is very important. And I want you to touch on as a last question. And that is, now when you find out and you think that you have applied all these 4 things, the person has met all the requirements, the person loves you, what do you do with that knowledge, with that information? What do you do? How do you go about everything?
Well, this one will be a little gender-based. If you're a guy, then usually you would want to, and here I'm talking about starting a relationship that's leading into marriage. It doesn't necessarily mean you are going to marry the person, but that is the intent of the marriage. And I dare say that if that is not the intent of the relationship, then it's better you don't even start it at all. Because the Bible has told us 3 times in the book of Songs of Solomon. Songs of Solomon 2:7, Songs of Solomon 3:5, and then Songs of Solomon 8:4. All of them are saying the same thing, that we don't arouse love until it is time. In the book of Lamentations chapter 3, the Bible tells us that it's good to wait quietly on the Lord. And and it tells us also in Ecclesiastes, last week I think I quoted it as the ending of what I was saying, that Ecclesiastes 12:1 didn't say that seek ye first your boyfriend. Remember your boyfriend, in the days of your youth. And so it's important that we understand this thing, that if it is not about marriage, then we don't push it at all. So if it's about marriage, then you can go and see. I always say that don't make decisions about marriage alone. There are some serious things in life, you don't make them alone, about your career choices, and then marriage is one of them, and then some other things we'll talk later. But these are very important. So talk to somebody who knows you, and ask, and who knows the other girl, or ask somebody to ask about the lady, or if you're a guy, I'm talking to the guys first. Then when it is then you can go ahead and pray. Of course, you pray as a Christian. You should pray about the person and make sure that you are aligned. And if you are aligned in purpose, then you can go ahead and propose to the person. If you're a lady, on the other hand, people ask me, so what do you do if the person is in love and you're also in love with the person, but the person is not talking? I think we'll do a whole one on that one, because our time is almost up. But this is what I will tell you, is that just make sure that in all of it, if you're a lady, pray about it, and then find ways of what I call the non-verbal communication of your interest, and leave the rest to God. If it has to happen, it will happen, because love is very obvious. Sometimes we don't know that non-verbal communication it communicates and sends much more information. In fact, there's a saying that goes that your actions are too loud, I can't hear what you are saying. So if you know how to use non-verbal communication, not overtly, but more covertly, because those ones carry much more weight than the overt ones. Because a lady, you want to try and still keep your dignity as much as possible, to know that you were chaste. The Bible says in Proverbs 18:20 that he who finds a wife, and so it still means that you must be found as a woman. Yes, but to be found, you can also make yourself visible, in that sense of the word. So you move on if you see marriage as a prospect, to be able to either take the step to go and find, or make yourself visible to be found.
Wow, this is good food. I've been very satisfied with all the answers, and I've learned quite a few things. I'm sure you have too. And you mentioned about the 3 types of love, and also talk about the fact that love is not just a feeling, not just a decision, but also a feeling. We're going to explain the fact that knowing that somebody loves you is important, but the timing also counts, and the reason why you want to know is so important. And you give us more, tips on how you can find out if somebody loves you and you're ready for marriage and what you should do about it. I know this will bless you so much, even as you watch. And as we wrap up, I want to hear final words from Mr. Kiki Baidoo before we wrap up. Final words to go.
My final words will be that God, love is a good thing. It's a good feeling. The world without love will be very horrible and blank. So God created love. So if you are in the process of giving or you are in the process of receiving, both ends are very important. So enjoy if you are giving, enjoy it if you are receiving. But make sure that the feeling of love does not become your only way to judge whether you are in love or not. Test it. Test every feeling, because you test it by the same principles of testing are the same principles of crash management, which I've mentioned already in this video. So use them, and at the end of the day, you find out that you have been blessed and you are moving forward in your Christian life. And I dare say that many people whose energies are trapped in romantic relationships are powerful tools for the kingdom of God. And if you're able to free up that energy that you are using to chase a romantic relationship, you'll be surprised how much energy you have for God's work as a young person. Yesterday I heard something from Bishop that he says, ministry is really for young people. And the earlier you start, the better. So start it, and you'll be surprised what God will use you for. God bless you.
Amen. This is wonderful. God bless you so much for your time and your wonderful exposition. Yes, and he mentioned it so well that enjoy is not feeling love because it's powerful and good, and enjoy and giving the love. I want the feeling be the main thing. And this has been KK and friends bringing you all the answers to the questions that you have. This is the beginning. There are more questions to be answered in our subsequent videos, and I want to encourage you to keep watching. And you can also connect to us on phone by calling us on 0273 400 400, 0273 400 400. Also like our page on Facebook, Teens Allowed Foundation, and you can send us an email on info@teensallowed.com. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Kiki and Friends. See you the next time. Bye.
Share this video.
Yes, share the video. Bye.